Hi everybody, this is Brian Koo with another ROK video. Some battles stick with you because they were very important and very intense. Some battles stick with you because you make a video about it a short time later. And then there are battles that stick with you because they're simply the best memory you have in a war that was very memorable. That's what we're looking at today. This is a blast from the past. Some of the commanders you see on the screen might seem a little old and dated to you. I've got a Boudica in the field. I've got a Jan Žižka in the garrison. This is a war from 1 year ago. It is a Siege of Orleans KvK where the war lasted about 21 days. It's a war that I've talked about on my stream many times, that I've complained about, just because our opponents were very tough. We were up against two very strong A kingdoms, 1393 and 2217. 1393 is a multi-star kingdom from Hong Kong. 2217 is a very lean, whale-heavy kingdom with American and EU roots. They covered each other's downtime. They bought a lot of crystal tech, and they were very, very tough in the open field. This particular battle took place on day 14 or so of the war. The level 5 passes into zone 6 were going to open in about 36 hours. The zone we were in now had sort of stalled out. We had a fort wall up. The enemy wasn't messing with our fort wall. And there was just a night where both teams had a lot of people online, and we got into a pretty good engagement here. Now, you see that we are fighting pretty deep in our own territory here. And we actually are picking this up midway through the battle, because much earlier on, the enemy was fighting us, winning fights, and so I put our ball very, very deep in our territory, like 6 or 7 city lines deep into our territory. And my attitude was, if they want to charge all the way across our territory to fight us, we will fight them, but we're not going to just engage in open field fights that we're going to probably lose. They did ultimately run across the city lines to us. We took those fights, and I started recording when things started to go our way. We were winning open field fights that we didn't expect to win. Now, maybe that's because we were deep in our territory, we were getting our territorial buffs, and we could refresh much quicker than they could. But nonetheless, we were getting wins, and this is the kind of operation that I like to lead. I like to lead operations where you take a little bit of success and you just build momentum. And even on a micro scale here, what I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to have us destroy their ball before it forms, right? We won that open field fight. We had a rally that was forming up. And so my attitude here was, don't let them form their ball. This was 1393 uptime. So this was mainly 1393 that we were fighting. They were the less organized of the two opponents. And, you can see that they didn't really form a ball or anything. They just all sort of ran back to the fight. I tried to get us to disrupt their ball as it was forming. I don't think what I did worked all that well, because they just, had enough people to push us back. We had too many people who were going back instead of continuing to push. But this is what I like to do. These are the operations that work well for me, because ultimately I am a pretty conservative leader, and I'm an emotional leader. I feed off my own confidence. I feed off the confidence of the people I'm playing with, and I feed off the realization that people are actually responding to what I'm saying to do. Sometimes people are very responsive, other times people are much less responsive. I think a lot of it comes down to how confident people are in the shot caller, in the markers that are being set, in the things that are being communicated on voice. So this was one of those things where we were still feeling out how far we could get. Yeah, we had won a couple of open field fights, but, were we going to get anything else out of this engagement? We really didn't burn a lot of flags of this opponent. I mean, it was a 21-day war, but they were ahead pretty much the whole way. And, you know, burning flags of this enemy was not something we did a lot. You can see the flag that we're targeting now is pretty low. I think we must have been getting some burns on it earlier on in the night. But we don't know what we can get here yet. And what I set as a marker is just don't fight on their land. You know, we're not trying to do too much here. We're just like, okay, we're competing well in the open field. Let's stay on our territory. Let's see what we can get. And the real leverage point here, well, the first leverage point is I cast Books and Battles, which it's always nice when you get a really high value Books and Battles. This is a great spot to use it on. We do have a rally coming in now. This is Froppy rallying for us. He's now in 1770. At the time, Froppy was in our campmate's kingdom. And, you know, Froppy is a very big whale. He's got a very good archer set. And I really like having him as a rally leader because he's a very responsive rally leader and a responsive whale. If you say you want Froppy to do something, he generally does it. And so in this case, we didn't really have any field. The enemy was able to swarm down the rally quickly. And so Froppy canceled that rally very, very quickly. Didn't get a bad trade. But what did he do with that archer rally, with that Zug Lang, maybe Zug Asher rally, or maybe Zug Henry rally? He helped us win the open field, right? Some of the enemies swarmed his rally. Some of the enemies took heavy AoE from his rally. And so look what all of a sudden happens for us here. From that rally, from that very quick rally that canceled fast enough so that the trade is not bad, that actually allowed us to have more success after in the open field than we had had at any point in the night. All of a sudden, we're fighting on their territory. We're removing the marker that says, don't push to their land. We're very much pushing to their land now. And so this was a nice little unlock for me, where this is something I'd wanted to do before. This is something I had visualized doing before, but this is the first time I really put it into practice, where you use the rally as a open field assistant. You don't use the rally to get the burn, you use the rally to help you win the open field. And again, if you cancel fast enough, that rally is getting a decent trade against this Hera YSS garrison, and it's getting a very good trade against all the marches in the open field. It's doing fine against the swarmers, it's doing great against the marches that are taking AoE. So all those players who joined that first rally, they see the report, they see the kill points, and they're very apt to join the next rally instead. Again. And if they're not one of the marches joining the rally initially, which we're generally just going to fill a rally with a farm when it first forms, by seeing a good report, all these players are much more likely to reinforce the rally from the field. As you can see here, we are going to have level 5 passes opening in about 36 hours. You know, this was one of those fights that didn't really matter. Like this zone, we were both teams were going to not care about this zone in a day or two. We were going to fight for the much more important zone 6s. But here's another rally from Froppy, Boudica Zug. Again, this was like a year ago. And it's getting a nice trade right off the bat. And again, this is what I like about this video, is that we're showing something that we really don't see in ROK anymore. Just 1 year ago, we were watching flag battles where the open field is being contested. Yes, we have like a bit of control underneath this flag, but it's not discrete control. What you see nowadays in Rise of Kingdoms is you see literally 0 enemy marches in the open field, and you see a massive offensive ball right next to the rally, right next to the flag. But here it's very dynamic, right? They're pushing in at times, they're able to swarm the rally at times. We clear their swarmers out from time to time, but their swarmers they are able to get some swarmers onto this rally. And I'm not sure if the Crystal Tech skill Surging Strike is in the game yet. Surging Strike is the end game Crystal Tech that gives 10% all damage when swarming. And so we saw a situation here where this rally stayed up even though we did not have full open field control. We swarmed at the end, and we got a very, very nice burn. And I just really like this fighting. I think this is very cool fighting where the defense has a chance to bring down the rally. The defense has a chance to disrupt the reinforcements. But as an offense, we also have to put in a lot of work to keep this rally protected, keep our reinforcements protected, and keep the enemy away from the rally. And so it's one of those situations in Rise of Kingdoms where literally both things are important. The open field and the rally garrison dichotomy are both important at the very same time. And I just think that's great. I think that's great gameplay. And I do think that things like Surging Strike and commanders like Belisarius, who also amplify damage, I think those things have kind of made this a bit of a rarity in modern day Rise of Kingdoms, where now it's really like you either have the field fully or you cannot rally. But, you know, we did get the burn. Now we're falling back, and we're getting more out of this operation than I ever would have expected us to get. I mean, this is a far cry from what was happening just... Here's the report, by the way. Great trade for this rally. More than 2-to-1 against the Hera YSS garrison. You can see just solid reinforcements, even better reports. An even better report once you look at all the AoE that the enemy is taking. And I think you're going to see some swarming here that's not like... You would think a Boudica Zug could get swarmed pretty well. Actually, there's just like no swarming. They did not swarm this rally. And so that's another change you see in ROK, is that I think a year later, with more lessons learned, you would see most opponents swarming this rally. But as it was, we were able to keep it very, very full. The rally was not pressured. And we got an outstanding trade against 1393 here. And this flag, this, I don't know, semi-important flag, is actually one burn away from being destroyed. And after a report like that, of course we were going to take another shot at this flag. And of course, first we have to win the open field. First we have to push back this very daunting 1393 open field. And, you know, one of the things that happened on this night, and one of the things that was very rewarding about this, was that there were many people who contributed to this outstanding effort on our part. I was not the only person setting markers. Captain, the Korean leader in our kingdom, she was also setting markers. And this was one of the, and, you know, Captain and I, we get along, but we don't always work all that well together in war. It's just one of those things where on certain nights we're both very engaged, and at other times, you know, we just sort of are two ships passing in the night. But in this case, I was on voice motivating the international group. Captain was motivating the Korean group over Kakao Talk. We were both setting markers, and this was one of those joint efforts where the Korean and the international group came together at sort of a, you know, it was like 3 UTC. This is not an uptime for most kingdoms, but when we get everybody together and, you know, the two groups work together, we do get a very nice uptime at surprising times. So now here's Froppy's Henry Zug rally. We're getting open field control as this rally hits, right? We didn't have open field control when it hits. We were, again, being reasonable about this rally. If it goes down quickly, we can cancel. If it stays up and we start taking the open field, we'll let this rally run. And this ends up being a very long rally and a very contested open field fight here. We had gotten a very good trade the last time. All of our players were very enthusiastic to do it again. The enemy undoubtedly saw some of that report and were less enthusiastic. And so this was playing into my wheelhouse. The gradual momentum. Use one success to build into a bigger one. And so I'm here, I'm keeping a scout on this flag. I'm also telling Froppy how much is in his rally. So we have very, very clear communication, and we are gradually pushing the enemy away from the flag. And we have some people swarming this thing, right? Now we have some Korean players swarming this thing. I believe this is Sven who's swarming it. He probably should break off some of his marches. But you can see that we smell blood, and you can see that this was important to us. Yes, it was a zone that would not be a big deal in a few days, but this was like a big moment of momentum for us. Like, we were actually going to destroy one of these enemy's flags less than 2 days before our biggest fight. So we had everybody taking it seriously. I was scouting it. Froppy and I were talking on voice chat, keeping this rally full. Koreans were swarming the flag. Captain is setting a marker, telling people to swarm. You love when things come together like this. Everybody moving in the same direction, everybody focused on the same goal, and executing very well. I mean, these are sophisticated attacks that we're doing here, where we're using the rally to help us win the open field. The open field is keeping the rally full. The open field is dealing with the pressure of the enemy. And, you know, the enemy was very much on the back foot here. You're going to see in the report that some of their very best players are going to take a bunch of deads during this battle right here, because they did not want this thing to burn, but we applied enough pressure that this thing is going to go down here any second now. I'm looking for the scout. I'm trying to get like the last minute scout. I don't even have time to look. I flip back to the screen just in time to see a ton of sad faces walking away. What a sweet sight that is. We get the burn, we get the destroyed flag, and here is that report on the final rally. Again, very solid reinforcements. And look at how many players were affected by this. Another 2-to-1 trade on the garrison. And now this player Moving was literally LN93's best player. Moving was LN93's best player. He tried to swarm this rally. His hospital was full, and he took a bunch of deads swarming this rally. And that's when you know that you've really done a good job. That's when you know you've exceeded the expectations that the enemy has for you, when they just get so knocked out of whack that they, you know, make a dumb mistake and take, you know, a couple 100,000 deads on their very best player. And we get some more deads along the way, and you know, you can see that like even the people who swarmed this thing just got like very, very bad trades. Very, very bad trades. And again, I don't know if that's because Froppy's Archer rally is super thick, or because Surging Strike was not in the game, but I would love for us to go back to a place where, you know, rallies would get a good trade against people swarming it. I mean, look at that report. That's just a monster report. That's 4-to-1 on kill points, more than 3-to-1 on deads. I mean, that is a monster report. It was a great way to build momentum going into the level 6 war. And for me, this was like my best moment in the whole KvK. You know, this was just a very solidly run point-to-point operation. And I really enjoy the idea that I can affect like an entire war. You know, it was just one flag, but it gave us a lot of momentum, and it also just slowed down the enemy for the whole night. Basically, there was going to be an altar of darkness in like an hour after that flag burned down. And, you know, I was like, should we contact the enemy and be like, hey, do you want to have a truce for the next 3 hours so we can do the altar in peace? I ended up not doing that. I just sort of had a few people teleport to this fort, because I knew if they were going to attack, it was going to be at this fort. we moved the ball down here briefly, and actually I think we burnt this flag down. There's a flag on the left that we burned down, and we put some farms around this fort. I remember telling Uni, who was the leader of the Yurdi kingdom. Uni is now in 770 as well. I was like, Uni, I'm going to put a farm next to this fort. If they do attack, we'll have a farm there that's ready to go, but we can all just chill. We can enjoy the altar, and we can feel very good about a successful operation, well executed, well resulted. And, you know, that's some of the best parts of this game, really, is just having moments where it feels like a real war, feels like a real operation, and you as a group win the damn thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Throw a like on it if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Many of you are not subscribed. I would very much appreciate the sub. And until next time, I will see you all on the flip side.